From the very beginning, Jungkook had never been the type of man to wear his heart on his sleeve. His affection, if it existed at all, was buried beneath layers of icy composure and a demeanor that made people tremble before speaking. When he first became your boyfriend, you believed time would thaw the frost in his eyes. But as weeks turned into months, you realized affection wasn't something he gave freely. He never intertwined his fingers with yours in public, never leaned close to whisper something sweet. Even in private, his words were clipped, mechanical, as though being with you was more of an arrangement than a choice of love. And yet, you stayed because behind that cold exterior, you sometimes caught fleeting glimpses of something else, something raw, something restrained. One evening, as you sat across from him at dinner, the silence was heavier than the clinking of cutlery. You finally broke it. Do you ever get tired of being so distant, Jungkook? He lifted his gaze, calm but sharp, like a blade unsheathed. Distant? No. I'm the way I am, Vine. If you expected warmth, you choose the wrong man. Your heart sang, but your pride wouldn't allow you to beg. Maybe I did, or maybe you were just too afraid to feel anything real. A muscle in his jaw ticked, but he said nothing further. And that was how most days passed him wrapped in silence. He wrapped in longing. It happened on a night that began like any other. Rain pattered against the windows, and the tension between you two had grown unbearable. Words had been exchanged, sharp ones, bitter ones. You accused him of treating you like a shadow in his life, and for once his calm broke. You think I don't care? You think I don't notice you at all? If you did, Jungkook, I wouldn't feel like a stranger sleeping beside you every night. Silence. His breathing was heavier than usual. His eyes dark with something you couldn't read. And in that charged moment, boundaries dissolved. He reached for you not with the cold detachment you knew, but with the hunger he had kept buried. His lips crashed onto yours, demanding, claiming, as if to silence every doubt you had ever spoken. You responded instinctively, your own emotions pouring into desperate for the warmth you had craved for so long. The night blurred into passion. For the first time, his coldness melted, his hands raised as though memorizing you. His whispered slow and raked against your ear. You felt wanted, cherished, if only for those hours when the world ceased to exist. But morning was merciless. When you woke, the chairs beside you were cold, untouched. Jungkook was gone. No notes, no explanation, no lingering warmth of his presence, just silence, the kind that pirates deeper than any plate. You sat on the edge of the bed, trembling fingers brushing over your bare skin, now covered hastily with your dress. The memories of last night felt like a cruel dream. Was I a mistake to him or just a weakness? That morning marked the first crack in your heart, a wound that would deepen with time until it shattered completely. The weeks that followed were nothing short of torment. You discovered the truth in the quiet of your room, two lines on a small strip that changed your entire world. You sat frozen for hours, staring at the test, hands trembling, heart racing. You dialed Jungkook's number immediately, but it rang endlessly before disconnecting. Again and again, you tried day after day, night after night, but he never picked up. The silence on the other end of the line felt heavier than any words he could have spoken. Every evening you sat by the window, the phone clutched in your hand like a lifeline, your eyes swollen from sleepless nights. Jungkook, I need to tell you something important. Please just pick up. I can't do this alone. But there was no reply, not even a text. Finally, one night, your despair overpowered your pride. You sent him a message. The message was marked as rage, yet no reply followed. You sat there, staring at the screen until your tears blurred the letters. Inside, doubts devoured you. Does he hate me that much, or does he regret ever touching me? Regret me? The silence was worse than cruelty. It felt like abandonment. The day of your wedding arrived like a storm you couldn't outrun. Your gown was heavy, its lace suffocating against your skin, but nothing weighed more than the anxiety pressing on your chest. The hall was filled with whispers and polite laughter, but to you it was nothing but noise. When you finally walked down the aisle, your eyes met Jungkook's. He stood tall in his suit, impossibly handsome, his expression carved from stone. For a fleeting second, you hoped maybe, just maybe, he would redeem himself. The priest's voice echoed, "Do you, John Jungkook, take wine as your lawful wife?" The silence that followed was unnatural. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, whispers starting to spread like wildfire, and then his voice cut through the air, calm, cold, merciless. "I can't do this." You blinked, unable to comprehend. "What? What do you mean?" He didn't flinch. His eyes, those same eyes that once held you close in the dark of night, now looked at you as if you were a stranger. "I don't love you anymore. I can't accept you or this child." Your breath caught, the words slicing through you like glass. "But it's yours, Jungkook. This baby, it's yours." For a moment, the words stilled, and then his lips parted again, sealing your fate. "I love her, my ex, not you, never you. I won't marry you, Wine." The guests gasped, the hall erupting in murmurs, but all you heard was the shattering of your own heart. The ground beneath your feet seemed to sway, your knees weakening. You felt yourself collapsing under the weight of humiliation and grief until strong arms caught you. When you looked up through blurred eyes, it wasn't Jungkook who held you. It was his elder brother, John Hyunshik, a man feared in the underworld, the mafia boss whose presence alone silenced the chaos around you. His grip was firm, unyielding, as though he had already decided your fate. The wedding hall was chaos, guests whispering, elders scandalized, cameras flashing as your word crumbled in front of hundreds of eyes. Jungkook's rejection echoed in your ears like a curse, each word branding your heart with unreadable shame. Your knees buckle, the weight of betrayal pulling you down. But before you could hit the marble floor, an arm strong, steady, unwielding wrapped around your waist and pulled you upright. The murmurs ceased instantly, as though the air itself recognized the presence that had entered John Hyun-sik. Dressed in an impeccably tailored black suit, his broad shoulders carried an aura that demanded submission. His face was unreadable, sharp features shadowed under the chandeliers, his eyes dark, calculating, and merciless. He was Jungkook's elder brother, the man people whispered about in fear. The mafia boss who commanded empires with a single look. The entire room fell silent as though terrified of what he would do. He tightened his grip on you, his voice low yet carrying through every corner of the hall. Enough from this moment, she's mine. Gasp rippled through the guests, but no one dared challenge him. Even Jungkook froze, his lips parting in shock, unable to utter a word against the force of his brother's will. Hyunshik's eyes flicked briefly toward him, cold and merciless. You may throw away what you don't value, Jungkook, but I don't. That night, the wedding was a blur. Papers were signed, vows forced, and before you could even breathe, you were no longer John Jungkook's bride. You were John Hyunshik's wife. In the West mansion that now belonged to you as much as it did to him, you sat quietly on the edge of a bed, too large, too cold, your white gown replaced with a simpler dress, your hands twisted nervously in your lap as the silence stretched. Finally, you found the courage to speak. Why me? Why did you choose to marry me in front of everyone when you could have turned your back like he did? Hyunshik stood near the window, a glass of whiskey in his hand, his tall frame outlined by the moonlight. He didn't move for a long while, and then slowly he turned toward you. His steps were deliberate, predatory, until he stood before you, towering, his presence suffocating. He crouched, bringing his face close to yours, so near that his breath ghosted over your lips. His eyes burned with something raw, dangerous, obsessive. Because no one humiliates but smile. You flinched, confused, and fear tightening your chest. Yours, I was never yours, and this child, it isn't yours. His expression darkened, but not with anger, something deeper, something that sent shivers racing down your spine. He placed the glass down with a sharp click on the bedside table, his hand suddenly gripping your chin, forcing you to look at him. Do you think I care whose blood runs in its veins from the moment I claimed you? Why in everything you carry, your pain, your scars, even this child became mine. Your eyes widened, goosebumps rising on your skin at the intensity in his voice. Why would you accept another man's child? Why bear that burden? He leaned even closer, his lips brushing the shallow of your ear as his voice dropped to a chilling whisper. Because I would rather raise Jungkook's child as my own than let you ever belong to him again. I don't share what I have taken mine and I have taken you. Your breath caught, heart pounding violently in your chest. His grip softened slightly, but his gaze remained locked on yours, obsessive, unrelenting. You are terrifying. A smirk ghosted over his lips, but his eyes never softened. Good. Fear ties you closer to me, but soon you will realize I don't just want your obedience, I want your heart, your surrender, and I'll break every bone in this world if anyone dares stand between me and that. You swallowed hard, unable to respond. The room felt too small, your lungs struggling to take in air under the intensity of his claim. So ask me again, Wine, why did I choose you? Because I wanted you, and when I want something, I never let it go. His words left you trembling, torn between fear and a dangerous awareness, because in his obsession, you saw something Jungkook had never given you, an unwillingness to you slip away. The days that followed were nothing like you expected. You had braced yourself for cruelty, for a loveless cage made of mafia politics and forced vows. Yet Hyunshik surprised you. He wasn't tender, no, tenderness wasn't in his nature, but he was present. His coldness was laced with a possessive care that you could neither ignore or resist. At the dinner table, he always made sure the dishes you liked were served before him. When you stepped into a room, his eyes followed, sharp and unreadable, but never missing a detail your expressions, your moods, even the way your hands sometimes rested unconsciously over your growing stomach. In front of others, he treated you with the authority of a man staking his claim. His hand on the small of your back, his arm guiding you, his gaze daring anyone to even breathe, disrespect in your direction, and the underworld knew better than to test him because John Hyunshik had become a fortress around you. But the mansion was still a prison of memories because Jungkook lived under the same roof. And no matter how much you tried to steel yourself, your heart ached every time you saw him, especially when she was near his ex girlfriend. You would catch glimpses of them together in the hallways, the soft smile he gave her, the subtle way his hand lingered near hers. Your throat tightened each time, your chest constricting with a pain you couldn't hide, Hyunshik noticed. One evening, he sat quietly in the living room. Jungkook deliberately entered with her by his side. His gaze flicked to you for a fraction of a second, as if testing you, watching your reaction, and yes, your hand trembled as you sat down in your glass, your lips parting slightly, betraying the wound you tried so hard to conceal. Before you could excuse yourself, Hyunshik's hand wrapped firmly around yours, his grip unyielding, his voice calm yet razor sharp, cut through the silence. Enough of your games, Jungkook. If you think parodying her around will break wine, remember this. If she bleeds, you bleed. If she hurts, you suffer. Do not test my patience. Jungkook stiffened, his jaw tightening, but he said nothing. He simply pulled his ex closer and walked past, his silence more dangerous than words. You sat frozen, your pulse hammering. Honchik's thumb brushed lightly over your knuckles, almost an absent gesture, but enough to steady you. That night, without warning, Hyunshik told you to pack a few essentials. His men carried the rest. Within an hour, you found yourself in his private penthouse, a sleek modern fortress high above the city. The skyline glittered through floor to ceiling windows, far away from the suffocating walls of the family estate. You stood in the middle of the living room, stunned. Why did you bring me here? You could have left me at the mansion. He removed his jacket, tossing it over the couch, and loosened his tie. Then he looked at you, really looked at you, as though every word unspoken between you weighed on his chest. Slowly he approached, each step heavy with purpose, until he stood close enough that you had to tilt your head back to meet his gaze. Because I won't let you live where he can touch your wounds and twist them deeper. I won't have you breaking every time he looks at you. You're my wife, fine. You're under my name, under my roof, under my claim, and I'll be damned if he let anyone, especially him, make you doubt that. Your lips parted, stunned by the sheer force of his words, but it hurts him too, didn't it? Knowing you took me. His expression darkened, a shadow flickering in his eyes. He leaned closer, his hand gripping your chin, tilting your face up to his. Let him hurt, let him rot in the ashes of what he threw away. I don't care if he breaks because every piece of you, wine, broken or whole, belongs to me now, and I'll protect you even from the ghost of what you still feel for him. Your breath hitched, your body trembling under the weight of his obsession, his proximity, his intensity. It terrified you. Yet a dangerous warmth spread through your chest because for the first time someone wasn't letting you slip through their fingers.